Hi, I'm Dr. Virginia LeBlanc, also known as Doc V, the Pivot Maestro. Welcome to the Define Your Path podcast for thought leaders, change agents, and legacy builders. In today's spotlight, we have the incomparable Dr. Katherine E. James, the self-love transformational coach and freedom conductor. The name says it all, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Katherine, we are super excited to have you with us today and look forward to hearing your story of how you faced your fears to love the skin you're in and pivot into pursuing your passion and soul purpose. How are you feeling today?
I am absolutely wonderful and so grateful and delighted to be with you here with you, my sister.
Awesome, awesome. We're going to get right to it. So, in our podcast, we love to keep it simple. So, here are two questions that for you. Question 1, how have you defined your path? And how do you want to help others define their paths? So let's start with question 1 and then we'll come back to question 2. How
All
have you
right.
defined your path, sis?
Yeah. So when you think about it, this notion of defining our path is really, I honor like the thing that drives me. I honor that which I am, which feels naturally for me. Out the gate, I have to say that defining my path really comes from me and my relationship with Christ. Like that, it comes from that. There's this statement that I received, and it said, "At the moment that Abba gave us our breath, we forfeited the right to not be amazing." At that moment
Yes.
that we received the divine download, if you will, the breath of God, the very unique breath that no one else has. When seriously, when I think about the notion that I have a portion of the creator's breath that no one else has, and it's that breath that empowers me, that imbues me, that allows me to do the things that I am to uniquely do. I realize more and more every day that no one else has what we have, can
So
do it the
good.
way that we do it. And so when we think about it, oftentimes we're stuck in comparison and things like that. But that notion, that idea that at the moment that I received the breath, that you received the breath, my sister, that we all received breath, the breath of God, it wasn't a reused breath. It was a breath that was uniquely defined, right? To use define, uniquely defined with us in mind, that
Yes.
we would show up in the world, in the universe, and have a particular impact that no one else has. And so my path is defined by knowing that, realizing that more and more every day, by really, as you say in the intro, being comfortable in the skin that I'm in more and more every day, and knowing that there is something unique for me to do. And so each day I get up, I am looking for the thing that only Kathy can do. Right?
Right, right.
My only competition is me and me.
I
And I
love
had
it.
to learn that. I had to learn that because there were times I would look across the aisle and I would think, oh man, I would like that. Or if that, how come this and how come that? But the more that I came to learn about me and own the message that God has given me to share with the universe, then the more I am able to not look to the right or to the left, but look in the mirror and remind myself that I'm an irreplaceable, unrepeatable, remarkable miracle with my own special brand of brilliance. I'm just saying
Yes, sis, yes.
that no one else can do me or you the way that we can do it. And that message for me comes from the notion of self-love. And I know sometimes, there's this notion of struggling with the idea of you first, you thoroughly, you completely, and you consistently loving you, because it is from that place. And that's what we talk about, the living from the runneth over place. So that's my 23rd Psalm week. We live from the runneth over place that it is the cup, beloved, belongs to us. This is how I define my path, right? Is living from this place of self-love every day. It's the message, and as we get into how I help others, then it's this same thing. Self-love is everywhere throughout my life. And it's this notion that, first of all, we talked about there's no other you in the universe. And there's something for you to do that only specifically you can do that no one else can do. And if you don't love you well, if you don't love you first, if you don't love you thoroughly, then that which you are to bring, it's brought haphazardly, if brought at all. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Right. And so I'm getting ready to talk about the church. So I have to acknowledge that I love the church and that I am a pastor and that I, all of those kinds of things. But, sometimes in the church, the notion of self-love is frowned upon. Right? Because we are taught to self-sacrifice. I get that. I understand the whole message and things like that. And also, I believe that Jesus Christ did the ultimate sacrifice. And so we are to live our lives to its absolute fullest, and that self-love is anticipated expectation. And let me tell you why. Because Luke says that we are to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, soul, and strength. Wait on it. Just hold up. Wait a minute. Pause, Selah. And thy neighbor as thyself. Okay, now it's that as thyself part that we often leave out. It's that as thyself part that we often ignore. It's that as thyself part actually that often gets looked at and frowned upon. But Luke 10:27 clearly says it's an expectation that you can't give what you don't have. So how are you going to love your neighbor if you don't love you well? I'm just saying.
Toes.
Can't do it. You can't give what you don't have. If I don't have a cup of sugar, I can't give you a half a cup. If I don't have $5, I can't give you $2.50. Right? If I don't have gas in my car, I can't take you anywhere.
So right.
So then the expectation is that we would love ourselves so that from the overflow. So from Luke 10:27 to the 23rd Psalms, and your cup runneth over. Over. The cup, beloved, belongs only to you. This is how I define my path. By reminding myself of these principles, by reminding myself that God created me uniquely in this whole package, right? Grew up as a Black woman in America, that's a package, right? Grew up in the inner city of Detroit, that's a package. Grew up pretty much in my whole adult life, about 100 pounds overweight, that's a package. Do you see all of that? Yes. But also grew up as a professor who has taught over 500 courses, who is loved tremendously. Hold up, I gotta say this one part, because this one part defines me, I think, more than anything, is this notion. I saw this quote, one of my sissies gave me a beautiful, beautiful heart. And in the box it says, full of love, transfer love, guarding love. I was like, if that don't sum up who I am, who I've been created to be, full of love and transferring love from my place of love and guarding love. And so when I think about defining my path, love is what defines my path.
So good.
Period. I was reading something this morning that said my answer to every question is love. Every question.
I like that.
Ultimately, the answer is love. Love might mean that I'm going to let you do what you do because you need to figure it out. Love might mean that I'm going to interrupt and say, hey, did you know? Love might mean that I'm going to go 1,000 miles, over and beyond what you even considered was possible. All those kinds of things. And I live this amazing life, sis. This absolutely amazing life where I get to love and be loved on. When I tell you, so one quick story before we transition here is my son, I birthed one child, and every weekend just about, there were probably 6 to 12 boys in high school in my basement. They lived in I was the breakfast mom and carted them around. I don't even know how sometimes, right? All of them. But these boys have grown up to be men. And I get to be actively involved in their lives as Mama James. You see, and so one of them flew me out to Houston just to spend time with his family. Like who flies their moms, their friend's mom out to be with their family, and the
Beautiful.
friend didn't go. Do you see?
Mm-hmm.
And I get to care for some of their children who've moved back, from college and all those kinds of things. And then the phrase Auntie Kathy and all of those things, it's about pouring into folks' lives and loving me well enough to be able to love them, to deal with my stuff, to own my own stuff, to know I still got to always do some work in order to be the better, the higher, the fuller version of me.
Yes.
So that I can then turn around and love on other people to their greatness. That's how I define my path. My path is defined by love.
Sis, that was a mouthful. Do you hear me? And that, oh my gosh, what already a divine download, as I like to say. Ooh, that is so good, and it's so much to unpack there. But I want to get to the second question, and if we'll have time, we'll circle back.
Okay.
So, how do you want to help others define their paths? And you've already kind of alluded to how you did that with your son's friends.
Yeah.
But yes, if you could just speak to that a little bit more about, like, in your business as the freedom conductor,
yes,
as a self-love coach, how do you want to help others define their path?
Yes. And so I think the first way to answer it is, again, just to reiterate, we can't give what we don't have. And I believe that others' paths are also, love is the pivotal ingredient is the pivotal ingredient and agreement, if we will.
I like
Let us
that.
agree with love, do you see? And allow it to be an active, the number one. You know how we look at ingredients on the back of a package, and if salt is there first, this thing is mainly salt. If sugar is there, it's mainly sugar. The ingredient to our lives, the active ingredient, the first thing there has got to be love. Period. It's got to be love. So that's the active ingredient. That is the first thing. When I have the absolute privilege of servicing others, I serve as a self-love transformational coach and a freedom conductor. Freedom conductor, I use my inner Harriet Tubman to put all forms of bondage on notice that freedom is indeed unequivocally our birthright.
Yes.
Right at birth, we were called to live in freedom. We were called to live out everything that is within us. And so part of what I do as a transformational coach, first of all, I focus in 4 areas: thinking, feeling, relationships, and purpose. Thinking, how do you think? What is your thought life? Because that's going to lead to what you feel. It's going to lead to all of your habits, which impact your relationships and your purpose. Are you going to be able to walk out and fulfill purpose? So everything that I do is infused with this notion of love. Are you loving you well in your thinking? Are you loving you well in your emotional life? Are you loving you well in your relationships, loving you and loving others? And are you pursuing purpose and destiny with everything that's in you, right? That's like measuring where you are in your love quotient. And so I help people in direct coaching, so executive coaching. I do all kinds of teaching, and I know we're going to get to this, but every morning I do a live at 5:40 Eastern Standard Time for about 20 minutes. It's called Wi-Fi AM.
I love that name.
Wi-Fi AM at 5:40 to 6 o'clock we're on, and I'm just pouring out what it is that God has given me to share. And it's amazing. Like, we started this thing pre-pandemic, and it's still going on every morning, every Monday through Friday. And so how do I want to help others define their paths? Everything begins with a thought. Scripture says, as a man or woman thinketh, so are we. What we sowing and reaping is real. So what we give our attention to, it will grow. And so how I serve is I'm going after your thoughts. Do your thoughts lead to love, or do they lead to bondage? Do you see? Where are you parked? What do you pay attention to? What is your conversation? Your inner conversation. Because we can fake the outward conversation.
Right.
I want to know what you're saying to you.
That's
when
deep.
The chips are down.
Right.
Because it's in that place It's in that place that everything, every other real thing is going to manifest. And so the other thing, and I don't know if there's a show in here. And so, okay, so there we go. There we go.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then the book, right? Self-love, a gift you give yourself. We talk about that right in that book, and we go step by step by step by step. So you're going to do some, so this is my seminal work. And everything that I do will always come back to this notion of self-love as a gift we give ourselves. And so it's, first of all, it's being courageous enough to go on the explorative journey, self-exploration. Let's look at you. Look at all of you, from your, what's it say, rooter to the tutor, right? From the head to the toe,
Right.
the past, the history, and all of that. And I really just want to know, like, no matter what you find, because self-exploration to self-discovery, like, we own it. We own it, we embrace it, we celebrate it, all of it. We allow nothing to be orphaned that is a part of us. Like, everything is to find a place where it can be home. Whether it was something we wanted or not, it is our history, our story. And so we celebrate it, because you can't really heal that which you won't own and which you won't honor. You
So
see,
good.
you can't really heal it. And so we honor it. And so one of the main things that I teach is to give your younger self grace. Give your younger self grace, because we often want to indict. I just turned 59. I'm loving it, loving it. My last year of the 50s, I get to go out in the blast, doing this thing, coaching, yes, and things like that, right? Walked away from my, God was like, oh, you got to leave. I had worked 36 years, right? You too, sis, right? I worked 36 years, and like 6 years before, God was like, you got to go. And I'm like, who?
You got to go.
Who? Like, I grew up in poverty. I grew up in poverty and didn't even know that I had some other stuff I needed to work out. But he was like, no, this message that you got, you have given it to this place for over 3 decades and other places. I need you to go to places that you never even imagined. Make yourself available. Like here, like this thing wouldn't even exist, Doc V.
Yes.
Right? It would not exist. You and I wouldn't be sisters, right?
Right.
If I had stayed behind the desk.
Right.
I never would have been in the places that brought us together. And so I'm very, very, very exceptionally grateful for that. And so self-love, so self-exploration, self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, self-appreciation, and self-celebration. Those are that's the movement in the book. And it's a cyclical process that we continue to do. I do my self-love work every day. I just believe that no matter what, whether I'm at a 10 or whether I'm at a -10, it's all good.
Yes, I love it, sis. Oh, it's beautiful.
It's all good. It's all good. So for those who, how I want to serve you is love you well. There is only one of you in the universe, only one of you. And beloved, it's okay. Whatever has been, has been. But this is the day. This is the time. This is the moment that you can decide that you're going to have the amazing future that is yours, and you can have that future right now. A future is just 1 millisecond away. So if you decide that you're going to have this phenomenal future that says that answers, that is evidence that you are an irreplaceable, unrepeatable, remarkable miracle with your own special brand of brilliance, you can start right now. And you start with embracing love, with transferring love, with being full of love, with honoring love. You first, and watch the overflow. You can't love you well and it not overflow. So that would be what I have to say.
Sis, oh my gosh. I love it. Wow, wow, wow. Talk about your soul, SOLE, purpose, being a soul, SOUL, purpose. Girl, oh, thank you so much, Dr. Katherine. That was truly a divine download in this, our first episode of Define Your Path. So I would just like to thank you, first of all, for being on our spotlight today. I want to make sure we get in information on how people can connect with you, how they can follow you on your social media.
Yes.
And then we'll talk. I want to unpack some of this for the rest of our time. Good. So
Yes,
so
yes,
let
yes.
folks know, how do they reach you?
All right. So again, every day I'm on Facebook from 5:40 to 6 a.m. Facebook, I'm on live. So you can reach me there on my business page, which is Dr. Katherine E. James. Dr. Katherine E. James is my business page. You can reach me on Instagram at Dr. Kathy E. J. And you can also, on my YouTube channel is Dr. Katherine E. James. And you can email me. I still read email.
Girl, we get so many of those.
Right. And you can email me actually at selflove at drkatherineejames.com. Selflove at drkatherineejames.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. So can you tell them also, the 5:45 is at Eastern US time?
Yes, 5:40. So it's 5:40 for
5:40.
20 minutes. And it's at Eastern Standard Time. Yes, in the US, Eastern
Okay.
Standard Time.
All right. Thank you for clarifying
Every
that.
Monday through Friday, not on the weekends.
Not on the weekends. That's your time of rest, your peace,
my
right?
time of rest.
Your sacred space.
So, sis, can you believe, like, I wasn't necessarily a morning person. I didn't wrestle with it. But in retirement, literally, God said, I need you to start getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what?
Sense of humor, right?
In
Sense
retirement.
of humor. 5:40. Oh my goodness.
5 o'clock in the morning. Yes, yes.
Girl. Oh, thank you so much. I mean, this was just so many diamonds, so many nuggets that came out of this. I love the concept of individuals just realizing that you are special. It's only one of you. Because we're so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're so busy, just being put into these social constructs and socialized through education where we're all following this one path. We're in the box.
Yes.
If we manage to get outside of the box, we're still thinking with that box instead of thinking without a box. But what you're suggesting, what I hear you suggesting, and finding your soul purpose helps you think without that box, which is, one of my sayings and one of my passions and purposes. So can you speak a little bit more to just, how do, women in particular who are in situations where they might be in cultural strife, or honestly, you started talking about and alluding to just how sometimes religion quote unquote puts us in a box.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, we interpret things in a way that keeps us in that box and has us thinking a certain way about our worth, our value, and never really going down that road of exploration towards self-love. Can you speak just a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, sis. And so we have, there's beauty in interdependence, right? There's beauty in that, in living in community and being able to love and support each other and those kinds of things. But there's also a reason that no one shares our fingerprint. There's a reason of that. And it's that thing that we owe to ourselves, that we owe to the universe, that we owe to God, that we discover all of it. And I'm not saying it's easy. Like, I am often an anomaly. Situations, right? I'm often an anomaly. But I just want you to consider for a minute, beloved, how many of those people who have made significant differences in the universe, how odd they were.
Yes.
How odd they were. Seriously, Harriet Tubman, if she had listened, and where people said, oh, first of all, don't even run, because you're not going to make it. Like, no woman can make it all the way, all those miles by themselves. But her soul kept screaming, there is more, right? And then she made it to freedom, and then people told her, don't go back, which was her soul's cry, to go back and get folk. But people told her, don't do it because of your own safety. See, this idea, when our soul is calling us for more, we must answer. Yes. And it is in that answer that we turn the world right side up. It is in that answer that other folk get freedom that they didn't know was possible for them. Yes. It is in that answer that we bring solutions to places and things and scenarios that others can't figure out the solution, beloved, because the solution is in you.
Yes.
The solution is in you. So I implore you to believe in you. That thing that won't let you sleep. First of all, let me just say, whatever you do naturally, as if breathing, like you don't even think about it, that's your gift. That is your gift. And oftentimes we don't think, sis, we don't think that's anything. Oh, that's just what I do. No, that is exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
And when I try that, I can't do it because it's what you do. Leverage that. Whatever you do, naturally. I naturally love people. Like I've recently started doing more clinical counseling. I had walked away from that for many years. I've recently started doing it. And I was in my second week of actively doing it. And I was like, I love people. Absolutely love people. I naturally love people.
Yes.
I naturally am drawn to conversations and deep connections and being with and all those. And look, I grew up in the inner city of Detroit. I'm just saying that sometimes people are looking at you like, you better watch. Wait, hold up. Because, it's the inner city, urban life, that kind of thing.
Right.
But my soul naturally connects with other souls.
Yes.
Whatever you naturally do, give yourself room. Find someone who will honor your gift, will honor you as you are, who you can go to, and they won't judge you for being, for being an anomaly, but they will hold space for you and give you room to triumph and to fail forward so that you can continue to become.
Sis, you know what? And I have nothing else to say after that. That was a perfect way to end our first episode of Define Your Path. Thank you so much, Dr. Katherine E. James, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. If you just jumped in, you need to go back and listen to the full version. Thank you so much. Dr. Katherine's information, her full bio, and how to connect with her will also be on our Define Your Path platform for our podcast. And be sure to visit definingpaths.online, where you can find out all about what we're up to, what we're doing, and you can connect with our partners as well from there. So, Dr. James, sis, thank you so much. You are such a blessing, such a light, and I thank you for walking in your soul purpose.
Yes, thank you for having me. You are truly a gift, and I thank you for honoring your soul as well.
Thank you, sis. All right, we'll see you all next time.